Hey doses, what's up and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering limits, the basics. So let's get right into today's video. So limits. So the following definition of a limit is informal but quite adequate for the purposes of this course. This is mentioned in the textbook. So if f of x is as close as we like to some real number a for all x sufficiently close to but not equal to a, smaller a, then we say f of x has a limit of a, big A, as x approaches little a. And we write lim as x approaches little a of f of x is equal to a. So if you're like me, you did not understand that definition. So I'm going to explain this in my own terms through an example. So limits can be usually written like this. Limits as x approaches a in this example of f of x is equal to a. So it'll make more sense once I use an actual function and not the term f of x. But in this case, what it's saying is that as f of x for the x values in f of x, for these x values over here, as x moves towards a, the answer becomes a. So let's say lim, the most common one is x approaches infinity. So as x approaches infinity for the function f of x, so it goes from it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to infinity. The value that you get is a. That is what the limit is stating. So it says that as x approaches infinity, f of x becomes the value a. And how do you find out that value a? Well, I'm going to show you now through an example. So for example purposes, blah, 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 f of x is equal to, so f of x is equal to 5x plus x squared over x. Okay, and it says as x approaches 0, but they haven't mentioned the limit yet. So now they're going to mention the limit. So it is tempting to substitute x is equal to 0 because they've put the limit of x as x approaches 0. You can see that over here as limit x approaches 0, but they've put it in terms like this, but usually in the question it'll be given lim x approaches 0, and this is all you will be given. So in this case, they've been nice to you and they've said as x approaches 0. So this is your limit. So they've basically said as lim x approaches 0, as x goes to 0, as all the x values slowly lead up to 0, f of x plus x squared over x. What does that become? What does this become? Now, usually you think, okay, if I just want to find out the value of f of x, f of 0, I just plug in 0 into the x value. So let's see what happens when you do that. You plug in here, it becomes 0 in the denominator and 0 in the numerator. So you just get 0 over 0. This is essentially an infinite value, and there is no value for this. It's a meaningless value, so you cannot have this. So what are you going to do instead? You cannot have the denominator being 0 either. So that means we have to get rid of this x below here. So what we do in this case is that we try to remove this x. So we still write it as lim as x approaches 0, but instead we just take out an x over here and we put 5x, 5 plus x over x. Now as you can see, this x and this x cancels out. And now we have lim as x approaches 0 of 5 plus x. This is our value. So now in this case, we can substitute x is equal to 0 and we get our answer as 5. This is the answer to lim of x as x approaches 0 of 5x plus x squared over x. So that is our answer. And now let's move on to a couple of example questions. So in this case, they haven't given it as 0 for a part. They've given lim of x squared as x approaches 2. So I want you to go ahead and give this a try. Really nice, really simple question, not too complicated whatsoever. Give it a go. Okay, you shouldn't spend more than like 10 seconds on this question. There's no issue in plugging in x is equal to 2 in this case. You don't have a fraction over here, and they've given x approaches 2. So basically what you can do here is you can just put 2 instead of x. So 2 squared is equal to 4. Bam, that's your limit. If you can plug it in without there being any issues like 0 in the denominator or a negative value inside the square root, apply the limit. Please go ahead and apply the limit. So in this case, in part B, as lim of x approaches 0 of x squared plus 3x over x. So now first thing that we're going to try to do is obviously try to plug in 0 into our function. As soon as we plug in 0, this becomes 0 over 0 once again. And we cannot have this at all. So what we're going to try to do is do the same thing we did in the other question. So lim as x approaches 0, we take out an x over here, x plus 3 over here, over x, bam, cancel, bam, cancel. This is equal to lim as x approaches 0. Please, whenever you're doing these kind of questions, always remember to write the limit next to your equation. So lim x plus 3. This is your new function over here as the x cancels out. And in this case, let's try plugging in 0 one more time. And as soon as we plug in 0, this goes away and you just get a value of 3. Bam. Your limit is solved. It's really that nice and simple. Obviously, these are the basics, so it's not that hard, but hopefully you've understood till now. And if you have, go ahead, please, and try out this example question over here for homework. The mark scheme is placed on the other slide, the next slide, and this Canva link will be in the description below, along with a one-on-one tutoring session link with me for half an hour whenever you want to book it. So please do go ahead and book that whenever you're free. Thank you for watching today's video. Take care and have a good day.